Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Powerless Podcast. In this episode, I talk to Matt, Daulton, and Brandon, who are two guitarists and drummer, respectively, in the emo alternative rock band TheMaguas from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Absolutely amazing sounding band. We get into the songwriting process of their latest record, Settled, signing to a record label, their songwriting process, their influences, and what got the band together, all those good things, as well as each one of the members that were on for this, talking about their fantasy league rock band that I've been doing with a lot of bands. That their answers were pretty solid too. So this was a great conversation. It was a lot of fun. It was great to find out about a new band I was not overly familiar with and get completely blown out of the water by their production, songwriting process, their vision for the band, and their drive for what they want to do with this going forward for the future. So again, thanks to Brandon, to Daulton, and to Matt for coming on and breaking down this record, breaking down their material, breaking down everything in between with the band. Make sure to follow the Maguas on all social media. It should be in the notes where you can find them, but it is just at TheMaguas, TheMaguas. I believe on all the socials, but check the notes from hearing this in case I inevitably screwed up like I did with The Burden the other week. Make sure to find the podcast on all socials. Again, I've gotten into contact with a lot of cool new bands, a lot of cool new people through this platform, as we just came up upon a year of the show just the other week. So make sure to reach out to me at thepowerlesspod on all socials, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. There is a TikTok. And also email me at thepowerlesspod@gmail.com if you want to set up if you want to set up a recording together, if you're a journalist, if you are a band member, if you are someone that works for a label, if you work in independent journalism or in activism, please reach out to me there. I've had a lot of good music-based episodes and politically-based world topic episodes as well over the last several weeks, and I want to keep that going. So make sure to message me at all those places. Also, if you're listening, make sure to drop a review on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, like on YouTube, the few of you that watch on YouTube, and all that good stuff, because it does help in the algorithms, and this is an independent show. I don't have name recognition, so this thing is really growing from the ground up, and it's been fantastic to see that continue to happen, so please do that in all those places. There's a Patreon. You can find me there. It's $2.50 a month to just support the show. I'm hoping as this goes on, I'm getting better at editing and quicker with these things, that I can start giving the patrons the episodes early. Hopefully that'll come soon. Might even be this one, hopefully. So just find me in all those different places at The Powerless Pod. And last, of course, is I've been plugging for every single episode, whether it's a politically based one or a music one. If you continue to pay attention to the news and see what's been going on in Gaza, also violence ramping up in the West Bank on Palestinians during this time, please go to ceasefiretoday.com. It's a great avenue made by a friend of the show, former guest on the show, Jordan Ewell, who set it up to where you can find all these different resources to easily donate to the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, where you can pressure your specific congresspeople, whether they're senators or representatives, how you can do that through email or calling them. It gives a script for the call. It gives you a script for the email. There's a lot of different ways on that website that should really help, whether you're in the UK, Canada, or the United States, to apply pressure to make sure that this crisis and escalation in violence stops. So again, go to ceasefiretoday.com. I'll have that in the notes as well. Make sure to go to that website. Use it. It takes 30 seconds, and whether or not you believe it, you are making a difference by going there and doing that in whatever capacity you can. So again, this episode's not about that. This episode is a music-based episode about this fantastic band, the Maguas. We've got Brandon, Matt, and Daulton coming on here right after this. I am here for the next episode of the Powerless Podcast with Brandon, Daulton, and Matt from the band The Maguas from Scranton, Pennsylvania. How are all you guys doing today?
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you guys on. This is one of the I've had a lot of personal connections over the years in various independent music scenes, both from playing shows and just kind of personal connections from writing with people and all that kind of stuff. But I always love when like a band I've never heard of before, or was not aware of fully, messages me. I check them out, and I'm completely like so stoked on the music, and that was the case with this band.
Let's go.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot of me talking you guys up in the intro. This is what I tend to do. But when I got I don't know who messaged me, but when I got the message from you guys, I checked out the band. Says, I think on your socials, the description is emo anthem rock band. And I would say that's a pretty good description of the band. Good mix of alternative rock and emo. And the newest record that just came out in November, called Settled, was blew me away. Like, absolutely fantastic, both from the production standpoint, mixing, songwriting. Your singer Eric sounds absolutely fantastic and has a unique voice and all those kinds of things. So what I would want to do with you guys today is, first, after I stop my rambling here, I'll have you guys each introduce yourselves and say what you do in the band. Then we'll kind of do a deep dive first on this newest record that just came out on CI Records. Talk about what some of the songwriting process is for the band. I don't know if you guys help Eric out with the lyrics or not. So if that's not the case, then we'll move on from that and talk about other things as well. And then kind of get into how the band started and all your guys' influences and all that good stuff. But to start off here, we'll start with Brandon, then go to Daulton and Matt. Go ahead and introduce yourself and say what you do in the band.
What's up? I'm Brandon. I'm the drummer for the Maguas, and I also do a lot of the lyric and melody work for the Maguas.
I'm Daulton. I play guitar along with Mr. Matthew Jenkins over there.
Yo. Also, thanks for the kind words, by the way. That was awesome. And yeah, I'm Matt. Like Daulton said, I also play guitar for the Maguas.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much for taking time out of your guys' schedule to do this with me. Like I said, I really want to dive into this record a little bit. First off, at least from what I could see on Spotify, which I know is not everything. A lot of times there's demos maybe bands don't want people to know about that are on Bandcamp or something.
Got lots of those.
At least from your bios, band started in 2018. This looks like it's your first full-length record. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
totally.
Okay. And it's obviously then also the first one signed to this record label out of Lancaster that has some pretty cool alumni artists from it too. A lot of I think August Burns Red and Texas in July were both on that record label, correct? And I think they're both.
Yeah.
I think they're both from Pennsylvania as well, aren't they? So
They're
that's pretty cool.
The PA,
I think they're
Lancaster area, around
somewhere around Lancaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. It's cool to be a part of. I mean, I know those are kind of heavier bands, but still very successful bands from the area. That's
for
awesome.
Sure.
So just to kind of start off here, and I'll try my best to coordinate with who I'm asking, so we're not all talking over each other. But to start off, I guess in general, when it comes to both this record or when the band both started, moving on, a lot of people that listen to this tell me that they like to hear from every band, like kind of in detail of what the songwriting process is like for bands, just because no one has the same answer, it seems like, especially in the day and age where people can still jam in a room, but then there's also, a lot of people setting up on Reaper or Pro Tools or whatever else and putting out a whole, each band member's putting a whole song together, those kinds of things. So kind of talk to me in general, what was the songwriting process for this record like? And how do you guys kind of generally go about writing songs together?
Brandon, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, sure. So for this record in particular, I did a lot of the melody and lyric work. Typically when we write demos, Matt and I will he has his own studio. Jenkins here has his own studio, which we'll do a lot of like demo writing in. So I'll sometimes come up with a melody or an idea and bring it to him, and he'll flesh it out with me. And then from there, we'll kind of get the completed demo, ship it up to the band and to our producer Nick. And from there, they'll kind of be like a vote of sort in a way where we kind of like Nick will give his opinion, and the band will give their opinion, and we'll kind of come together and decide on, okay, these are the songs we're going to move forward with. and then from there we'll get together in the studio, and that's where kind of the magic happens, where each member, obviously Eric's vocals and Daulton and Luke's playing, like that's where it comes into play the most, is when we get together in the studio, and oftentimes now Nick will even have us get into a room and play the song all together for the first time. Oftentimes with the demos, we all don't live together
before we even start tracking.
Yeah, we currently all live in different cities in Pennsylvania, so oftentimes when we get to the studio, that's our first time jamming the song together, and that's when you really kind of get the feel of how the song's going to come out live, how it's going to come out on the track. So that's a very vital part of our writing process. And then from there, we work with Nick and lay it down and kind of go. That's kind of like the quick and dirty of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt or Daulton, you guys have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean that's basically what we get into there. Once we get in the studio, the demos that like Brandon said, we all don't live together, so a lot of the demo work comes from Brandon and Jenks. And then we get in there, and when we start playing, we start jamming it, we start feeling what's right in the record and where it sits. We've had a couple songs on there that we all got together as well and wrote together. And then it just sort of takes shape. We find it in the studio that starts to take shape, and it start to hear everything work together. And Nick Brzezzi is fantastic at that as a producer.
Oh, yeah.
So that's basically how it goes about it.
Yeah, and I mean, our process has changed throughout the years too. We've been a band for like 5-6 years now, and like Brandon said, we all kind of live all over the place now. So I'm actually I do a lot of recording for artists around the area. So lately I've been doing a lot of our kind of demo work. But when we were all in the area at the beginning, we would just get together and just jam in a room, and sometimes it's not feasible anymore.
But to say the least, when you're in different cities, that's to be blunt, that's such a bitch to wait on that.
It's a pain. But a couple of the songs for the last record, we're like at most a 2-hour drive away. But a couple songs off the last record, I like kind of packed up my Focusrite my laptop, the recording rig on the go.
That's the other great thing now, though, too. Like I do a similar thing with the music recording projects I'll do and stuff like that.
Let's go.
Where you can grab shit and go if you really need to, right? You can bring a laptop and a Focusrite, and then you can go wherever you want.
I'm like heavily in the box too, so we were able to cook up some pretty like solid sounding demos just sitting in Daulton's living room.
Yeah, it's always been like a big part of like some of our writing, where we all have to get together in one spot and just sit down for a weekend. Get a bunch of beer and
absolutely
whatever comes to our mind.
Crush some beers.
And
that's it.
I'd
Work
say
out
like
songs.
We at least get through a song or two while we're all together, just hanging out and seeing what comes to us in the flow of things. But we've had that from back when we used to go to Eric's house, and then now we've traveled to mine and the bass player Luke's house last year, and so that's kind of when we get together and do the most writing together.
Well, and that's great, because that's kind of like the modern best of both worlds way of doing it, right? Where like I said before, there's I've had people on this show before where there are a few bands that'll still talk about that they do it old school, right? They all sit in a room, and the only music they write is them jamming in a room, and that's great. Like that's what everybody, I guess, like in principle would want to do. But like,
totally.
But even if you said you were within a 2-hour drive from everybody, like that's still not like, oh hey, let's meet up after work or whatever,
right?
And jam out for a couple hours and see what comes out of it. But at the same time, you're still getting that element that I think the most modern way a lot of bands do it, is 1 or 2 people in the band kind of really steer the ship more and more as time goes on. They might even, Brandon, you probably know how, like, probably get so mad if you never hear this as a drummer, where like the guitarist is writing the drums and Pro Tools, right? With 4 arms and 3 legs. And, something about the cohesiveness of the band can get lost in that too. I mean, there's bands that do it fantastic that way, and that's fine. I'm not shitting on anything. Do what you got to do, right? But it is cool that you, from what it sounds like, you guys kind of are able to mix kind of those two things together, where obviously you've got people that are able to track well. You've got you've got the resources to do that through a Focusrite and a laptop or whatever rig you have set up, and yet you can still get together and make sure it's cohesive as a band, right? Because like if Daulton and Matt, you're both a guitarist. If one of you wrote something as a lead and the other person was like, well, that's not how I want to play that, or that's not like, it sounds like you guys all get a little bit of your own voice in it, even if some people kind of come to the table with the start, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say
go ahead,
even
James.
when we bring it to Nick Brzezzi, he's the singer bass in a band called Man Overboard. Not sure if you're familiar with them.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, I am. Yes.
He's the man, but like, he really makes sure that it's cohesive when we bring it to him,
And I think it gets really collaborative in the studio. It's not nothing super set in stone. You can't get like demo-itis when it gets there. And, even if there is a song that Brandon and Jinx wrote and we don't want to change a single thing of it, that's fine by me. We're just trying to put out the music that we all like. You know what I mean? Even when we get in the studio and there's I'll go to Jinx and be like, hey, this one part, I'm going to play this instead. He's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Maybe I'll do this over that. And it's really kind of just figuring out the song together at that point. So while we do have like a lot of different writing process to get things started, I think the studio is where like the Maguas become the Maguas. That's where everyone really like hones in, and you're really just hammer down on all of the things all the aspects that go into one song, really.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, that's great. And again, you guys have referenced Nick Brzezzi a few times. Like you said, in the band Man Overboard has also, I believe, done production for bands like the Wonder Years, right? Like, and clearly did a fan. Is he also? I should have notes on this, but I'm an amateur. But did he also mix the record, or who mixed the record as well? On top of that,
yeah. So he mixed our whole first. I guess, well, it's technically our second EP, but I consider it like our first real effort as a band. He mixed the whole record called One of Us Is Lying. He did the mixing on that one. But since then, he relocated to a bigger studio called the Gradwell House, based out of Philadelphia. And I guess would you say he's one of the main mixers there at the Gradwell? Is
definitely one of the main producers there, but like Matt, and then Matt Weber is the guy that mixed everything.
Guy. Yeah.
Okay, but in kind of his studio, he didn't ship it out to somebody else.
It doesn't go out of the studio. It's all done in-house there.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say the record rips production wise, because that's it's kind of this catch-22. I don't even know if I'm using that phrase right, but whatever. Where music today has become so easily recordable and to the point where now, like, I think the bar is set so high for 10 years ago for your guys' first record, it wouldn't matter if it sounded that great, right? Like, we all have our favorite pop punk, emo, metal, whatever genre bands that, like, in 2013, if a band put out their first record, you'd just be like, oh yeah, I can see where this song is good, even if like the production is to be wanted, the mix is, the vocals are 10 feet in front of the rest of the music, whatever else. But that's not how it is anymore, right? Like, people really do expect top tier production and mixing right out of the gate, or you're just kind of forgotten. It's just how it is, right? And I just wanted to ask, because like the mixing and everything else on top of the great songwriting for this record is top notch. Like, I would think that this is
thanks, man.
It was. I mean, Man Overboard and the Wonder Years. Those are small bands. But I think that helps a lot as well to kind of make sure that the songs that you've all written, spent a lot of time on, sound as good as they possibly could be, right?
Oh, totally.
I think the studio does a lot for that too.
Definitely credit Nick for the production, because he produces his ass off.
The studio itself, with like the big drum room, makes the drum sound like massive. This whole it just sounds. It's exactly what we were looking for when we were trying to write the record and make the record. The studio itself helps out a lot.
The Gradwell's nuts. We're like recording into like a 64 channel SSL. Like, outboard gear out the yin yang, and every knob's freaking moving. Especially when they're tracking drums, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It sounds so good, just straight, like without any mixing, because it's hitting so much gear. It's insane.
That's great though, because as I said, and like, I don't know if you guys can see, I recorded my own music here, and that it's the complete antithesis of that, where it's like I'm in a concrete, unfinished basement with like plugins and fucking, not that you can't do stuff, but it's cool when you can go into an environment like that because you can really get the best takes initially possible and then go from there with the production and the mixing, right? So again,
totally.
Absolutely awesome. I am a little bit, and I've had more and more people that listen to the show tell me they like getting into the gear nerd stuff a little bit with this. So I don't know if you guys are into that at all. I mean,
that's
for you.
That's kind of that's my wheelhouse.
So I guess I'll start with you, Matt, and the rest of you guys, if when it comes to recording or also live performances, if you're not that into it with the recording and you're sitting there in your 6th hour of trying the different guitar tone or drum hit or whatever, and you're like, fuck this. But Matt, what are some of your go-to things when it comes to guitar, amps, when it comes to tracking, or when it comes to live performances?
Yeah. So the best freaking investment I ever made in the past 3 years was getting an Evertune guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Oh, they're incredible. Get one immediately. Make an investment.
Much easier in the studio,
especially for recording.
You
live
just
shows.
Don't have to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in with you, Matt.
Oh no, definitely. But we used to rip like tube amps. Like I would rip a Mesa dual rack, Black Star for a little while. I picked up, I think it was a Bugera. It was just a really cheap, loud tube amp. I forget which one it was, but I recently sold them. But I upgraded our system, but at the same time downgraded. Me and Daulton just run the Helix, the Line 6 Helixes now.
Yeah. I've heard those are sick. I've heard those are awesome.
Just to save our backs on tour and save some space.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond that too. I mean, we do different tunings on like almost every single song. So
it's incredible.
Having it be able to be transposed on the Helix.
Yeah. So does it? Because I know more about the Quad Cortex and like the Axe FX and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So do they have like the quick hit button? You're a half step
100%.
down. You're ready to go on the same guitar. God,
we build all of our channels out so that like we don't have to hit effects. We have song titles. It'll just be like a song on our pedal board, and we hit it, and we're in that key. We're in exactly what we want.
It's so cool.
Me and Matt sit down and we like figure out, okay, what sounds good for this, and they have a different modeling too. It's like that you can get like a Mesa type sound out of it or something along those lines. That's great.
It's like I'd say it's like 97% close to sounding real.
Yeah.
I mean I miss the air and the energy on stage a bit.
Definitely.
We're also like all self-contained now, like in-ear system and everything.
Oh,
and
nice. Yeah.
That took like at least 2 years to get used to.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we had the ups and downs with that. But the way we have the Helix set up is, like Daulton said, you could patch it out any way possible, but I just have it song by song on the set and just hit it, and then it pulls up all the effects I could turn on and off during that song. But it's fucking awesome, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome just because, like, I think about, like, the amount of times I'd be playing a show, and, like, I've played in heavier bands somewhat, and or also, like, bands more adjacent to the sound that you guys have as well.
Totally.
But it would be like, you're trying to move around, and then you're like, oh, shit, I got to go over and click this and click that and click that.
Yeah.
And, and then you're like, and then all of a sudden, my cord's wrapped around, and I don't know where the fuck I am. So that sounds great. As much as, like, I could totally get, like, missing the aesthetic of, like, old school ripping through an amp, like, I don't know, it's just one less thing that can go wrong, right? Like that sounds great.
We've had it go wrong live.
I was gonna say, Dom, tell the story about the Mesa.
It was my birthday. Actually, man. It was my 24th birthday. We had a show, and we start playing, and all of a sudden my tube amp starts crackling. I'm like, oh no, oh god! About 3 songs in, all the tubes just went. And I'm like, I can't. I just stood up there and looked like an idiot basically for the last 2 songs of the set. And we had that was a train wreck type of day though, because Brandon
I felt so bad for
you. My gear broke. It was wild.
And we were like playing
like a big show.
A really big outside festival stage.
And
it was our first time
park type thing.
Like massive stage, like festival beer thing at a water park.
Yeah,
and it all went to shit in 2 minutes.
My first bass drum hit. I hit the pedal and it instantly just snapped, and I was like, "Oh my!"
Oh god!
So I played. At the time, I was playing a double, and I played the entire show left-footed. just did my best.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that sounds
Yeah, it was nuts.
awful.
Yeah, and some of our older songs
Everything,
had double bass, so like it didn't make
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But,
But you know, I mean, again, I won't go into like my own stories on that, but I totally empathize because, like, you know,
You got to go
like,
through it once, you know.
Yeah. At
like
least
a rite of
once,
passage.
you know.
Yeah.
You can be like me,
Yeah.
where you get really into it and you go to like stomp on like your custom made, you know, pedal board that you made yourself, and you break right through the handle and some of the pedal, you know, all good stuff. But no, but that's great. Switching to Helix that's the one that I was looking into because I think they're also in a lot of ways the most like. This is not an ad for Helix, but please sponsor me. But
Hey, if
I
they
think
want
they're
to
the most
sponsor us too.
cost-effective one as well, you know? So
I think
that's
they're very, at least what drawed me to them. And here's the thing. We did this move like 2020 COVID stimmy check, so I was like, let's go, I'm getting a Helix. But a lot of like the neural DSP stuff wasn't even out yet. Is that the quad core? So I didn't even have the option to go there, you know? But I could have done a Kemper or an Axe FX, but I really liked the interface on the Helix, and everybody was like, I'm like, okay, this looks easy. It looks pretty sleek. I like all the colors on the pedal, you know? So I was looking more for the ease of use.
I think that's the way to go too, though, because like I don't know, like the Kemper one. I had a band member that had one of those, and he was like, "Yeah, it's the best thing ever." And I looked at it, I was like, "This is trigonometry. I don't know what the fuck this is. I can't do this." You know,
well, that's like my thing is I didn't even want to switch from tube amps. I wanted to play my Mesa Dual Rec all day, and then you know I saw Jinx and saw his Helix and saw the easiness of it. I'm like, oh god, we can't. I gotta just do it. I can't. It's so easy. Now everything we have is in 2 caster cases. We show up to shows and people are like crazy. Like they're like, wait, where's all your gear? It's like, nope, just boom, plug it in. We're good.
I mean, you don't have to carry a 100-pound amp down like 2 flights of stairs to some show. Yeah,
2 if you're lucky. 2 if you're lucky. Sometimes it's going up to the attic of like some like 4-story building, and there's a bar at the top of them. Like, what is going on?
We've done that before.
I'm having flashbacks right now.
Oh yeah,
giving me PTSD here. You know?
We played a show in Philly where I think it was 4 flights of stairs just to get up to the stage, and I'm like, we're lugging up, and the stairways are like this tight, and you're like carrying everything. I'm like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
We got 2 caster cases.
Bourbon and Branch.
They roll.
Bourbon and Branch.
It's fine.
Never forget.
Yeah.
Did we play any shows where you were using a Mesa and I was using a Helix?
I forget. No, I don't think we did because we had a bunch of shows scheduled right for 2020, and that's when you got your Helix.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So there was a lot of prep time there for some reason.
Yeah.
So there was shows scheduled where that was going to happen, but something came up and we couldn't play them.
Whatever it was.
One thing for like a year and a half. That's fine.
Brandon, when it comes to because I'm trying to learn about drums, right? but what do you when it comes to both recording and live show? This is the other thing I meant to ask before we get into the drums. Did you guys use the Helixes for the recording process, or at that studio did you use a lot more of like real amps?
We used
just all real amps.
We used tubes. Okay. We used either like an original Mesa Boogie, or we had a couple oranges. I think we used, and I think each song a Marshall, Each song had a different type of amp that we would use, and we would kind of hone in on that sound. The Helix is just for our live shows because we still like the way that a tube amp sounds compared to is one of those. But you can't. It's not like we said. It's not feasible for a tour.
It's really hard to generate like is the only thing for me with the Helix. It's like a really natural feedback.
Yes.
And a lot of our songs, we hit that chord and let it ring.
Yeah.
I think we do that in Release Me, and it's just like you can't really do it that well still with the plug-in stuff.
Yeah, and
you kind of
can. But it's still not the same. It's not like it's the imperfection isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I figured as much, but I figured I'd ask because you never know. There's bands putting out stuff with plugins and shit. You just never know.
And a lot of it sounds amazing, but
yeah. But hey, if you can use real, I'm all for it. That's I was gonna say I still use like a 100-pound tube amp for some reason. I don't know why. It just breaks my back. But Brandon, when it comes to the drums, both live and recording, I don't know if you just used a lot at the arsenal of the studio when it came to the recording process, but what's the gear that you prefer with drums? Are you really specific about it, or are you somebody that says, I don't give a fuck? Like, what's kind of the process there for you?
Yeah, I definitely have my I don't know what it is, my specifics that I like. So I always set up the same way in the studio. And this is Nick's gear in terms of cymbals and stuff. But it's always like the 14-inch Bryson hi-hats by Meinl. They're very dry and crispy. I just love the way they sound. And then it's always the same. Left side, 19-inch A custom crash. Right side, 20-inch A custom crash. And then the 21-inch or 23-inch, it depends on what he has that day, A sweet ride. Just classic, tried and true. It's like everybody's classic setup. In the studio, Nick or Matt and Nick are both kind of drum heads. They both love all different kinds of drums. They have a bunch of drums at the Gradwell. Some boutique types, and then also just like some super expensive like pearls and things like that. Every time we've gone to record there, it's been a different kit, which I don't really mind. The snare, I think for the first half of the record, we used I have an SJC custom snare drum. It's like a 7.5 by 14. It was actually the touring drum for Cartel, if you're familiar with the band Cartel.
Yes, yeah.
It was for their 2014 tour. It's like just this beautiful, I think it's like maple, or I don't even know what it is, like birch. It's gorgeous. And then the rest of it, we did like the 1970s Acrolite Ludwig classic, full aluminum, tried and true. Yeah. For me, I live. I currently play SJC. I have like a custom kit from them, and then I play TRX cymbals, and some of those are massive. I have like 15-inch hats and 21-inch crash. Yeah, I mean, and even if we play, it doesn't matter the size of the gig. We could be playing in like a 50 cap room, and I'm like, screw it, 23-inch crash as it is.
They're going to hear those.
They're going to hear me for sure.
Yeah.
Might be the only thing they hear, but that's fine.
There's plenty of videos I've seen from like a Snapchat where all you hear
it's just the swoosh. I recently really gotten into aluminum kits and aluminum drums. I'm looking into hopefully purchasing something in the future with that. It's just a lot of my favorite drum productions, like Willie Gipp, for example, for Tiger Shaw, Menzingers, all those bands. He uses Blackwood drums, which is I think. He like works with them. He's like one of their people. So he just released a snare drum line. It's his second launch of that, and all aluminum, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really trying to buy my way into that. It's just like a $4,000 kit doesn't seem really likely to tour with right now. Do I want to tour with a $4,000 kit? I don't know. Like I've seen how we pack things up. We do our best, but sometimes you rush it. I mean, next thing you know, like dent
you'd want those cases to be titanium.
Yeah, literally. You can drop them out of an airplane. Make sure they're good.
It's like whenever you see some of your favorite kind of like bigger bands that will have some like super. It's like you're sponsored. You don't give a fuck.
You don't care. You get one of those.
That's why they're able to toss their guitars off stage after a song or something like that. Like, no, this is the only guitar I'm using for the show. I can't do anything like that.
It reminds me of like Linkin Park was like the big band for me that got me into music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I remember before I really understood how much music gear cost when I first started playing. I remember watching a video of them where like a string broke on one of the guitars, and Chester Bennington grabbed it and just started breaking it on stage. I was like, yeah, that's so cool. I'm going to do that someday. And you're like, no, but I'm not. Like,
no.
That's more than my rent. Sponsor all of us. Anyway,
let's go.
So thanks for diving into all the. I don't know. I think it's super interesting to hear like where bands come from, both with live and recording sound. I really appreciate that.
For sure.
Getting into this record, Brandon, I think you mentioned that that you have a lot of influence on the lyrical and vocal melodies on the music. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So with this record or with the band in general, what are some of the big vocal melody influences, lyrical influences, or inspirations for this record for the band?
Yeah, it's interesting because over the past, I'd say, I guess 2 years in terms of writing this record, a lot of my influences have changed. I think I initially really started as like a Movements fan and we always loved the Wonder Years and bands like that. And I think a lot of our earlier influences came from bands such as those. As I've grown into this whole music scene and started to like embrace different genres and things like that, I think a lot of our sound has kind of morphed into this culmination of bands like such as Tiger Jaw and Men Singers and all the way to a little bit heavier stuff. Like we've had the opportunity to play with bands like Until I Wake and Catch Your Breath and I guess a bit heavier like metalcore type bands. And you can kind of hear that towards the later part of the record was like Bad Times and Too Close. I think playing with those bands and seeing the kind of energy that they bring to live shows is something that I personally wanted to see happen in a way, like just bring a little bit more heaviness to it and kind of push our sound a little bit further. But all of that kind of came together in this weird way of just like playing more shows, meeting new bands, hearing new sounds. And then even like you look at Glum, like Glum was inspired by Hot Mulligan, which is so weird because you hear it and you're like, oh, I would never think that. But melody wise,
Was it really?
Lyric wise, it was, yeah. I mean, Glum is our oldest song on the record in terms of writing. And that song came from an experience with the band, like in terms of lyrically, it came from an experience with the band where something had happened at our practice space, and we had a essentially there was a flood in my basement. We burned a bunch of stuff, and Eric said the line somewhere along the lines of like, I'm broken in half and covered in shit, somewhere along that line, and I used that and made it into a song. But it was all kind of based around a melody I'd heard from Hot Mulligan like that week. I'd introduced Eric to Hot Mulligan that week. It was just a weird like. Yeah, fate causing all these things to happen at once, and ended up, just being one of those songs that I absolutely fell in love with. I think the band loves, we love to play it. But that's like earlier influence, and now I'm talking about, we're listening to, I don't know, we're going back to our roots of like Fall in Reverse and like Escape the Fate or like random bands like that, and just kind of just it's like a hodgepodge of different genres all coming together. I love it. I think that's kind of where all the influence comes from.
Yeah, I mean. It's cool that as a band that, I would generally, I hate putting bands in pigeonholes or whatever, but like I would generally reference as like an alternative rock, emo band. It's cool that you can have those kind of heavier influences as well. You reference a few more metalcore bands. Mm-hmm. Even if your sound, like in general, obviously there's a few songs, like you said, that kind of bring that energy to it, but like, it's cool to just like, I don't know. I think it's cool when or Hot Mulligan, even when you talk about that, like that song sounds nothing like Hot Mulligan. I think it's cool to bring those influences in, like I've heard of, I think I forget what podcast I was listening to. I listened to too much shit, but there was like a deathcore band that referenced like a singer songwriter from the '60s, and like that influenced their lyrics, right? Like while they're doing Breeze and Inhaled Screams and things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah,
and it just goes to show. Like I think this is something that like fans of certain scenes need to recognize as well. Is like. Nobody listens to one style of music. No one's influenced by only the pigeonholed genre they're put into or whatever, because that's not how people are, right? 100%. It's like movies. Like you could say you're a horror movie fan, but like, do you really never watch a comedy? Like that kind of thing. And no, I can see that. I can definitely see that energy there. That's cool that you've played with some heavier bands as well. You can kind of get that like aggressive energy. I think that's one thing that like. I obviously haven't seen you guys live. I'd love to come out to Chicago.
For sure.
But I think that's something that like people get out of that more aggressive scene a lot is like the live shows are just like kicked to 11 at all times, absolutely. Right? But I've seen like, emo bands or pop punk bands and things like that, like kind of get into that mold, I think, because they're influenced by heavier bands as well, right? So that's really cool. This is like one of the other things I'll ask each one of you, and then we'll maybe look at the beginning of the band and how the band's kind of come together and some of your guys' different music influences in general. But looking at the record, we've got 11 songs, pretty full, well-rounded record. You got a lot of different influences and sounds in this album. I'll start with Brandon, then Matt, then Daulton, one with you. If you had to pick one song on this record that is your favorite, whether it's because you like playing it live, you like what the song's about, you like just how it came together in the studio, tell me what is your favorite. If you had to pick one, now you're not like stuck on this, right? Like I was going to hold you to the fire with this. But if you had to pick one, why? Give me your explanation. So I guess Brandon, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll have to go with, for me personally, I think "Release Me" is one of my favorites from the song, from the record. The song itself it's something that comes from a very personal, emotional time in my life, and it was written in different stages, and it's one of those songs where when you play it live, the mood in the room changes, and I feel like a lot of people, when it comes in, because there's a nice big kick in, a lot of people's heads kind of turn up, and they're kind of like, oh shit, like this is gonna hit, And I feel like even the band, like you can kind of just feel the emotion. We're all very in sync during that song. Everybody kind of gets it. Like, this is the song. This one means something, and the music video for that one is very emotional too, and it's just one of those songs. It's hard to explain. It really captures, I think, how I envisioned the Maguas, being in that emotional state, in that very vulnerable state, and when we show ourselves like that, I feel like we really connect with our fans, and it's something that's really special, and I think it's hard to kind of, I guess, fake that emotion, like people really get it when we do it.
Authenticity is probably the most important thing when it comes to art. So I mean it sounds like you're saying like that song feels like one of the most authentic things you've ever made, and kind of comes off that way live. That totally makes sense. That's great. Matt, go ahead.
Awesome. Well, I love all these songs. It's hard to choose. And a lot of them, we've been playing 6 or 7 of these songs are actually re-released onto Settled through the label and stuff. But God, if I had to choose, probably Glum. That song just holds such a special place in my heart because it was kind of like the first song that really started popping off during COVID.
I was gonna say, it's got quite a lot of not that plays are what matter when it comes to your music and all that, but it does a little bit, right? It's cool to see a song.
It does. It was,
it's close to 500,000 on Spotify alone.
Yeah.
That's
it's cooking.
Cool.
It's cooking. But and that's awesome to see. And but I love playing it live, man. Like, we usually end our set on it. At least the past 2 or 3 years, we've been ending our set on it. And it's just always a freaking banger to play. It gets everybody going crazy because a lot of people know it. And I just love that song. It rocks.
So to say, at the same time of it being your most popular, I think that can make that be your favorite, just because like the crowd reaction is probably the biggest for it, right?
Sure.
So that
absolutely,
I would love that more than anything else as well. That makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. And Daulton, what's your choice? It can't be one of the other two that they said as well. Doesn't have to be a
those two
one.
are two of my favorite for sure. I love playing those live. I love everything about them. I think as far as like just a song, I love Sour Hands. I think like when Brandon was talking about like,
as well.
Yeah, I think when Brandon was talking about like the authenticity of that, I think that we all can really relate to that. And the music video that we did for that again was very touching and very heartfelt to all of us, because it was showing our grandparents and our parents who have passed away, and that was just a lot of emotion in that, and that was really cool to me. And every time I play it, like, I just feel that special connection, like with like people that have passed. Like, I think of like my grandmother, who both my grandmothers who had a huge influence on me for music, and it just feels like they're both in that room when we're playing it live. And I just and from a song point, it's not something that it's like different from what our normal structures are from songwriting. It's not just verse, chorus, maybe a bridge, and then we end it. It doesn't really have a chorus. It doesn't really have a verse. It doesn't really. The whole thing is kind of just what we were feeling, and I think that that's super cool, and it's something that we've like that's just different from the rest of our stuff, and I think that was like really cool musically for us to do.
I'm glad you brought that one up, Daulton, because I have like there's another podcast. He was also on the show, Shane Told from Silverstein, that has said this thing about albums that I say the opposite a lot of times, where he's like, if your first song on your record can't open up your set like at a show, it's not going to be a good record. Like, he says that he's like, it needs to be able to like pop out of the gate, because you're kind of opening people with your with your album opener, which to be fair, Drifter is also a great song, and to hold to that, that's a great opener to a record. It's one of my favorite songs on the record.
And that's what we open up our set with.
You passed the test. Yeah. But for me, it's actually when it comes to full lengths, not EPs, but full lengths, it's kind of always usually about the album ender for me, because it's usually where the band's like, we're going to throw you a curveball. We're going to do something that's not the typical, anthem or like trying to get the catchy hook in there or whatever. We're going to do the song that like maybe we all self-indulgently really like the most, right? Mm-hmm. And like for me, when the first time I listened through this, when you guys first messaged me, I was like, this record's great, but like, what's the ender? And Sour Hands, when it came out, I was like, nah, this is it. This is like a very good record, because an album ender should I think it should always, like, it should be a curveball, but it should also be kind of something that really puts like a
stamp on it.
A stamp on it. Yeah, exactly. And it does that to a T. So that's a great pick as well. Like all three of those songs are great. I'm going to make you guys at the very end of this fight about which one of these songs or another one plays at the end of this. So have fun with that.
Excellent.
But I just have a few more questions for you guys, and then we'll get into something that I make bands do that half the people hate, half the people love, but you'll have to do it anyway.
Let's go.
Excellent.
But
we're here for it.
We've talked about this record settled, on CI Records. Definitely anybody that is checking this band out for the first time, go listen to it. Go get the merch related to it. I don't know do you guys have? I should have asked this beforehand. Do you guys have vinyl and all that kind of stuff that you're selling?
We do have
with it
vinyl
as well?
available.
Yeah,
in 3 different forms, so you can get all 3.
Yeah. Go get all that shit. Go get it. Prior to this record, I know, according to your website and things that I found, the band started in 2000. I'm gonna laugh at I put in my notes 2008. It was 2018. Kind of walk me through the process. You guys don't have to all go into detail from each one of you of like where music first started with you. I'm sure that's a long story we could get into at another time if you ever want to do another episode. But when did this band start for you guys? And how did you guys all kind of come together to make this project? I don't know who wants to go. I should have picked that. But,
I'll take this one. I mean,
cool.
We've all been playing together, like me, especially me, Jenks, and Eric and Luke have been playing together since we were in like 7th grade. Honestly, we were Eric and I started jamming together, I think when we were 10 years old or 11 years old or whatever, and just down in his basement playing. And, then Jenks got a guitar. He came, started playing. Luke started, playing with us. And then after we left college, we were all kind of just not doing anything. We wanted to, go and play some cover sets at a bar, just to play music again. And so Eric sent out a mass text, and we all got together, and there was about 8 or 9 of us that ended up showing up to this thing. And within about 20 minutes, it was only the 5 of us just jamming.
That's it.
So like that's it. And the other 3 or 4, they're like, we're good. We're gonna like, you guys are too good for us. I was like, oh no, come on, play with us. But after that, we started playing a few cover shows here or there, and then from there, there wasn't really a time. We were just like, let's put out something. Like, let's just like make some music. And we all had like, especially with Good Beer, which is our first EP, and we had just like a conglomerate of like songs that we had all written over the past couple years that came together. And that was our first EP. And then we got some people that were like, man, this is really good. And we're like, all right, well then I guess we'll just keep going. And it just got more and more serious every single day. And now, like, for me, I can't picture my life without this band. You know what I mean? This is just 5 best friends from, the same high school, the same area, the same town, all playing music that we've been playing for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Brandon or Matt, do you guys have anything to add to that, or did Daulton just kind of knock it out of the park there?
It's pretty well said.
It's right on.
It's all a pretty cohesive story. We all, we're high school buddies. I didn't really know Brandon too well until the band started. But yeah, it's been a wild journey. Like, I would have never imagined we'd be, here at this point 5 years later, signing a record deal, playing. I think it blows my mind just traveling the country and seeing all these different places. Like, that's what I love, It's unreal.
Yeah. I mean, that's super cool. It's also super cool to like see that people came back after college and met up with people from your hometown. That does not seem to tend to happen. That's not usually the story you hear from a band. It's like instead of going to college, we all worked at Wendy's for 10 years. And then we got signed to a record label. You know? Joking aside, but you know that's super cool. So has it been the original lineup all these years?
Yeah.
No changes,
no
anything like that?
No changes.
Yeah, ever since
Same
those
five
people
people.
didn't play with us
That-
on the first 20 minutes of practice, it's been the same 5 guys.
Yeah.
So,
They legit, I think.
You got to bring them back to like hit the keg with the baseball bat. I'm gonna do this slip
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
there you
saying.
go.
That's it.
until it gets funny. Until it gets funny, you know, I'm gonna do it. But, no,
Yes, sir.
but no, that's super cool. I love that you guys were kind of able to just come together after somebody just sends a mass text. I was like, let's make some music, and then here you are, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just curious too because I asked this of another band that I had on. Another guy, I should say, that I had on from his band from a band called The Burden that just got signed to a record label for the first time after being a band for about a decade. You guys have obviously been around 5-6 years, and with the way the music is now, with how you can easily put things out through streaming yourself independently and all those kinds of things. And I'm not shitting on any record label whatsoever. I think they actually do still play a part if they do things wisely. But what was the thought behind signing to a record label for this album? And what were those benefits, I guess, for you guys when you do that? Because I think some people that are maybe aspiring musicians would want to know that in 2023, why a band still signs to a record
Totally.
label, you know?
Definitely. I think at least from my perspective, one of the most important things for us with working with CI, one of the aspects was physical product. So, production of vinyls, things like that. That was getting our music into stores. I think was kind of, for me, something that I really wanted to do, but never really knew how to do. And they obviously knew how to take care of that kind of stuff. In terms of other things in the industry, the networking, obviously there's some sort of financial component to it as well, but the networking is one of the biggest ones for us. Being able to land certain tours or to work with certain artists or producers or just companies in general. If we need something, the label's always kind of our voice in that, and to have somebody with a little bit more legitimacy or to give us that leverage. For us, we were an independent band for so many years and we had done well for ourselves. I still think part of our band continues to do well because we are so invested in this project and invested in making sure that it goes as far as we can take it. I think that's an important thing, a distinction to tell like smaller bands that even when you sign, yes, there will be people who come in and help you and take you to that next level, but you have to still keep putting in that work after, like just because you have somebody else there to help you do the things that you used to also do, you just need to find that another avenue to take on to keep pushing the band forward. So for this particular release, they helped us focus a lot on the physical product and again, the marketing and touring, all that jazz. And we kind of shifted gears to ensuring that we got all the right content we needed. We got all of the, we set up a lot of like reach out to you. Like we set up some interviews. We set up things to make sure that this is being attacked from every single angle we can in order to put our best foot forward, if that makes sense. So their guidance obviously has helped a lot too in terms of understanding what's the best move for our band. There's a lot of, when you're first coming out, you have a million different things like, oh, we're going to do a music video and we're going to, Dalton's going to rent out this sick guitar. Like, I don't know, like crazy shit, like anything you think of, but then you realize, oh, that costs a ton of money, So understanding how to spend money, where to spend money, understanding the shows you take, like there's a lot of mentorship that comes from working with somebody like CI, and I think that is invaluable to us as a band because we again, like we mentioned before going to college, we feel we're well educated, but the music industry is a very unique place. I've never experienced anything like it in terms of how business is run, how things are done, and I often find myself just like
is a very tame word for it. It's a very tame word for it.
It's a wild west out here, man. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Promoters getting in fights with each other.
Yeah,
and
you're
all
just
this
like,
stuff.
people.
I'm
like,
not used to that.
No, I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to play music, man. I don't know. It's like, and I think sometimes for the band, there is still like a lot of pressure to kind of figure shit out, and it's nice to have somebody to lean on who is at least kind of seen a thing or two, like State Farm, whatever the hell that place is called. Who's seen a thing or two? Farmers, whatever they are. Farmers, who've seen a thing or two.
Yes.
Like, like to have a mentor like that to lean on is invaluable, I think, for us. And that was very important. So.
Yeah, I think they're just door openers. Like, honestly, that's the way we looked at it. Like, I don't think any of us thought we were just going to do this independent for forever. Once we started taking it seriously, we knew that, like, a label was going to come along. And for us, it was really just having someone that we trusted and someone that we got along with. And with Jeremy and Dakota and Mike, all at CI, they're really helpful. And we have such a great working relationship with them. And they're door openers. We didn't even know we could do some of this stuff because we didn't even know those avenues existed. It's, when you're starting off, you think you're starting to figure everything out, and then you get to a certain level and you go, oh man, I didn't even know these options existed. And I think that the label really is one of those things that like opened that up to us and really helped us and is currently helping us move on to the next level. I think that's just an invaluable thing that a label provides, especially a one that cares so deeply about their artists like CI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And again, like, I think it's good to realize that, right? Like, I think, if you're saying, they're opening these doors for you, there's some shows you've been able to do that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Like, maybe, I'm not sure if recording with Nick as an instance is something due to CI or if that was with you guys, but like, in general, I think looking at it the way you guys are looking at it is the way to do it, right? Because I think some people will go to like I'm not throwing shade on CI. There's another record label I've talked about on here before, Open Your Ears Records, that signed some good bands like from your guys' area, or
I heard of them, yeah.
Virginia and all those kinds of things that that it's these people that genuinely care about music. So and they're also probably a little more business savvy than a lot of people that care about like writing songs, right? Where like that's better than I think people like myself or a lot of others have been skeptical from signing with labels for so long because there were these sort of indie labels that are all like owned by Sony or something. That like they would sign a band, they'd give them a big loan, they wouldn't help them out with much if the record didn't do well right away, and then they'd be in debt for like 10 years, right?
I
don't think that's the model.
They trap you pretty much.
As opposed to like signing to like a real like independent label like CI or some of these other ones that like they're doing it because they want to help bands that are good do well on sides of things that maybe some band members are a little ignorant of. Maybe it's things that band members don't give a shit about, right? Or or like you said with physical releases, things you just don't even know how to get your foot in the door with, right? So that's really cool. I'm glad it's been a good relationship for you guys, and like I said, from this record, from what I can see from what you guys are doing, I really hope that we see you just continue to go up and up and up because I think you've got the chops for it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Last question I have for each one of you, and this one, like I said, people have told me they hate it. People have told me they love it. I'm going to go through with each one of you guys, and then I'll just have you guys plug where people can find your band, what you got going on after that, and all that, usual interviewey stuff. But we'll start with Brandon again, and Matt and Daulton, because that's how my video's working, so I'm just going to do it that way.
Cool.
I don't know if you've listened to the podcast ever before, but I do this with people. Say you want to say you were either not in this band, or unfortunately all the other band members other than you left, and you were able to make a new band with whatever members you wanted, living or dead, your favorite artists of all time. Fantasy league draft rock band, right? Let's go with that.
Let's go.
Okay. Who would you put in your band? So, Brandon, again, we'll start with you. So the one rule on this is that you're in the band. So you don't have to do the instrument you're doing. Maybe you want to play a fucking, harmonica or something.
Excellent.
But go for it. Tell me what your dream lineup would be.
All right. So let's start with, on drums, I'm going to put Jake Brundrick from Mayday Parade because he's one of my favorite drummers.
Nice.
Instant set. I need MP in there. On bass, we're going to put Nick Brazzesi. And he's also going to do some backing vocals.
Yeah, make him sing.
It's going to be Dave Grohl on the box.
He's
singing.
Shit.
So that's an interesting combo. Who are my guitarists going to be? See, I'm not that great at knowing guitarists. I'm gonna say, give me one of those guys from Coheed and Cambria. Don't know who, but give me one of them.
Claudio. Well,
that
Claudio.
guy.
There you
Throw
go.
him on
The
there.
big hair guy.
Yeah, perfect. And
you can do some super high harmonies as well.
That's it.
Good.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just gonna I'll be the tambourine guy for this, and I'm just kind of just chilling. I could be like the stage jester. I just come out and I shake, and they're like, oh, there he is. Look at him.
I think it was it 311 where they had the one guy that just danced and sang harmonies.
See, that's it.
That guy.
Great.
Yeah. There you go.
What was that? What was it? I think at one time, Real Friends had a guy. I think the singer was sick at one point, and they had a backup singer stand behind the drum set and just sing the songs. I think that would kind of be like Mike all the way down here, and I'm just kind of singing, but people have no idea what the hell's going on. I think that would be my other role.
That reminds me of I don't know how people feel about this band anymore, but I remember seeing a video of the pop punk band that was pretty massive up until recently, I think, or maybe they still are. I don't know. All time low, where people would be like, "What? Where's the third harmony coming from?" And it was their manager behind the curtain with a mic set up.
Perfect.
So people thought it was tracked, but it was their manager because he was halfway decent at singing. And they were like,
"Love it.
Yeah, sing harmonies the whole show. Just be behind the curtain so nobody fucking sees you." There you go. You can do that.
Position.
Tambourine. There you go. Perfect. So you said. You said the drummer from Mayday Parade.
That's it.
Doesn't that guy also sing? Right?
He sings too. He is backing.
You can have a bunch of harmonies here. You got
there's
You
a lot
got
of
Dave
people
Grohl
singing.
singing. You got Nick playing bass. You got Claudia playing guitar. And then you playing tambourine. Is that what it was?
That's the band.
Yeah. We don't need bass players. No. You had Nick. Never mind. My brain's
Nick.
fried. All right.
That's
Yeah. All right. Matt. Jesus. Matt, go ahead.
Oh my god, this is a freaking great question. That's
what people say when they want to tell me "fuck you." That's what that means.
All right, let's start with I want to get that guy from Limp Bizkit, Wes Borland. I want a real freak on stage. I want to get freaky as fuck.
Best guitarist. There you go.
We're getting him. He's gonna play guitar. Then we're gonna get Kurt Cobain. He's gonna sing. He's gonna jam. He's gonna get all crazy up on stage.
He's gonna cock a shotgun. It'll be great.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm sick of playing guitar, so I'm just gonna rip the bass. I'm gonna be like Chris Novoselic, just kind of hop and just kind of jam out. Let Wes do his freaky freak, shred on guitar, and then shit. Let's get a little genty. Let's get Matt Halpern on drums. Because you know what? We need a guy back there that could just hold it together. How's that?
Well, I was gonna say Wes Borland is funny because I absolutely love Wes Borland.
Dude, he's
Some
awesome.
People fucking hate him. I think he's
he's
fantastic. But I remember there was he said that he likes to play the guitar like a drum. That was a quote from him. So you bring him and Matt Halpern, you just get a bunch of rhythm. You can just smack the bass. You don't even need to play notes. And then you got. And then who did you say for vocals? Who did you say?
We'll have Kurt Cobain. Or do we want a soul vocalist?
We'll have
Kurt.
You said Kurt Cobain. Yeah.
We'll bring him back from
the vocals over the top of just the most rhythmic nonsense you've ever heard.
That's just kind of like the vanity because I'm like, come on, who wouldn't want to be that damn Kurt Cobain?
Yeah. There you go. Like I said, and he can cock the shotgun to rhythmic, rhythmic noises. It'll be good. I'm canceled after this. All right, Daulton, go ahead and tell me your dream lineup here. God.
All right, so I'm a big '80s metal fan. So singing is
Here
going
we go.
to be
80s
Rob
theme,
Halford,
baby.
Judas Priest, Rob Halford. Give me the Banshee screams on vocals.
Yep.
I think I'm going to do
Get those
Steve
leather
Harris
pants on,
from
brother.
Iron Maiden as my bass player. And then I'm going to do Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains as the other guitarist. Me and him are going to go together.
Nice.
And then
Such a good pick.
I need Dave Grohl's drums. Brandon doesn't get him on
There
the
we
vocals.
go.
He's my
That's
drummer. And I
You
think
guys
we're
are
going to
playing
make
shows
some...
together. You guys are playing shows together
and we're
first.
just going to run back and forth, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's gonna be two stages, and you guys do songs back and forth. He runs over, plays the drums for one song, runs over, sings for the other one. So that way, by the end, he has a heart attack, and you guys are the reason Dave Grohl dies. There we go.
We killed Dave Grohl.
So, God, through all of this, we've got fucking Wes Borland, we've got Kurt Cobain. got Dave Grohl, we've got Nick from Man Overboard, and we've got Judas Priest. And fucking, like, God, what a chaotic bunch of bands we've got here from like an alternative emo band. There we go. All right, absolutely love it. Encapsulates what I said earlier, where nobody's a monolith with music and people listen to a bunch of shit, right? So, again, thanks for taking that in stride. I've asked people that question before, and I literally had to edit out somebody that said, like, oh, fuck, I don't want to fucking do this. You know? I appreciate you guys taking that in stride.
Oh, dude, we love it, man.
Last thing I'll have you guys plug is where people can find your music, where people can find you, what you guys have going on, whether it's obviously you just put out a new record, so I can't imagine you guys have new music coming soon. But you know, plug what you guys got going on, plug what's coming up for the band.
Yeah. You can find us at theMaguas.com or anywhere with at TheMaguas. We're on Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You know, Instagram, TikTok, all that jazz. We do have I don't know when this is going to air, but we have a Christmas song dropping December 1st, this Friday. A little Christmas cover. You can check that out. It's just a little holiday cheer. Our Christmas cards will be coming in the mail, you know, for anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And from there, 2024 is looking to be, I think it's going to be a good year for us. We are probably going to put out some new music within the next year. It might just be a single, it might be a couple songs just to keep things rolling. But obviously we're going to be touring on this record a lot. I think that's kind of our plan. We have a lot of things kind of in development, but a lot of that's kind of on the wraps for now. So we'll save that little secret for later. But we are out here grinding and, you know, rising and surviving. That's how it goes. And we thank you for checking out the record. And, you know, and if you're listening to this, stream settled. And you could tell us what your favorite song is, and it'll be great.
Buy the vinyl if you're so inclined.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Like I said earlier, buy the vinyl, buy the things, buy the merch, do all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And of course, all those links that you just said will be in the notes for anybody listening on Spotify or the few that listen on YouTube and the different things of that nature. And this will be out next week. So by the time this comes out, anybody listening, there will be the Christmas covers that they're alluding to out on December 1st. And then the last question, thanks for going over all of that, is you guys can bicker amongst yourselves, or maybe you'll be in unison on this, is what song from the record do you want to play at the end of this to wrap things up for people?
It's up to you guys.
I'd say Release Me.
I was going to say Release Me. Yeah, let's roll Release Me.
3 for 3. Release Me.
Rock and roll.
Boom. Rock and roll.
There we go, man. I was hoping for a little bit of drama there that would help out with the podcast, guys. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so we'll play Release Me from the band TheMaguas off the new record Settled on CI Records. Thanks so much for doing this with me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Dude, thanks for having us, man. Such a blast.
It's a blast.
having trouble with who I'm meant to be. I can feel you haunting my dreams. Upside down in between, just stuttering. Please release me. Please let me go. And I know it's for sure all these walls that I built still it grows. I'm so cold, let this crumble rebuild. Please release me. Let me go. I crashed my car to take a walk in your new shoes. A different point of view. Dancing with ghosts in the silence of your room. We both know the answer. I guess